In July of 2024, 9 of our troop members, 5 scouts and 4 adult leaders, successfully completed one of the most challenging endeavors they'll likely ever encounter. A 7-day trek at the BSA High Adventure Philmont camp in Cimarron, New Mexico. Unlike summer camp, which focuses on skills building through the completion of merit badges, a Philmont trek is focused on developing team leadership and backcountry camping skills for scouts over 14 years old. The purpose of the trek is to work together to complete what initially seems an insurmountable challenge. 50-plus miles of backpacking in the Rocky Mountains with 5 consecutive nights of backcountry camping. On Monday, July 1st, we flew from San Jose to Albuquerque and then took a 3-hour shuttle to Philmont. We arrived rather late and slept in the tent city at base camp, which was very much like the setting at summer camp. On Tuesday, we met our ranger, who guided us through outfitting with tents, bear ropes, cooking gear, and 4 days' worth of food. The Philmont base camp processes treks for 300 to 500 scouts per day, so we had plenty of company. Our crew leader learned more details about plans for the trek, wilderness guide learned about our conservation project, and chaplain's aide learned about conducting roses, buds, and thorns at the end of each day on the trek. With the additional equipment, pack weights were 30 to 35 pounds for the younger scouts, up to 50 to 55 pounds for the older scouts and adults. Day 1, Zestro Trailhead to Abro Camp, 4.6 miles, 430 feet ascent, 4 hours, 51 minutes per mile pace. Aryan navigated a complex trail that was not well marked. Scouts interacted with chickens, goats, and donkeys at Abreu Farm. Adults talked with other leaders from around the country, including one troop from Los Gatos. We learned skills like backcountry cooking and hanging bear bags from our ranger, Abby. Day 2, Independence Day, Abreu Camp to Fish Camp, 10.6 miles, 1,730 feet ascent, 6.5 hours, 39 minutes per mile pace. Cole navigated through a long day, using map landmarks to identify the correct trail. At camp, we spent an hour learning to fly fish. Although we didn't catch anything, it was a fun experience because we could see the trout in the stream and witness them swim up to our flies to look. They just weren't hungry. We enjoyed a fire that evening, and Mr. O'Shea brought some non-flammable fireworks to celebrate July 4th. Day 3, Fish Camp to Lower Bonito, 4.8 miles, 930 feet ascent, 3.5 hours, 43 minutes per mile pace, conservation project. Anish navigated this route, which took us up a long 900-foot climb in 2 miles immediately out of the campsite. After lunch, we participated in a 3-hour conservation project to build beaver dam analogs in a marshy section of a beautiful meadow. At the end of our conservation project, we experienced our first hailstorm, running for cover under the trees as golf ball-sized ice chunks rained down on us. Our camp was filled with a ton of hail, but luckily, our tarp Mr. Wissink and Cole set up protected our bags from all of the hail. Day 4, Lower Bonito to Trail Peak, then to Miners Park, 14.2 miles, 2,420 feet ascent, 9 hours, 39 minutes per mile pace. We spent the morning on a side hike with day packs to the top of Trail Peak, 10,200 feet, to see a 1942 B-24 crash site, which was definitely a highlight of the trip. Also saw 2 ladybug colonies. After lunch back at camp, we headed to Miners Park with packs on, arriving rather late in the day. Day 5, Miners Park to Stockade Ridge, 11.5 miles, 1,200 feet ascent, 7 hours, 37 minutes per mile pace. Spent the morning rock climbing and rappelling off the rocks at Miners Park, almost stepped on a rattlesnake on the hike back to camp. After lunch, hiked to the top of Lover's Leap, and from there to the Stockade Ridge camp. We started to hear thunder in the later part of the day, but were fortunate to get our tents up before the overnight rain. Day 6, up Tooth of Time and back to base camp, 10.6 miles, 1,640 feet ascent, 8 hours, 44 minutes per mile pace. The morning we completed a tough climb to the top of the iconic Tooth of Time peak. The peak featured on a lot of Philmont literature. This was one of the toughest climbs any of us had ever done, ascending over 1,000 feet in about a mile over boulders. The effort was rewarded with some fantastic views of the entire valley below us. We had to get off the peak by 11 a.m. as thunder was in the distance. Around noon, the rain started and got progressively heavier until our second hailstorm of the trip hit. The hail was only pebble-sized, so we could mostly hike through it, although we got thoroughly soaked by the heavy rain that accompanied it. Fortunately, the bad weather only lasted about a half hour, and we had a chance to dry off as we hiked back to base camp. Once back at base camp, we spent a recovery day visiting the BSA Museum, doing some souvenir shopping and taking the bus to Cimarron for burritos and sightseeing. All told, our crew completed more than 56 miles of hiking with a sense of more than 8,350 feet in the high-altitude Rocky Mountains. Everyone was very tired but in good spirits. Our scouts did a great job working together and keeping a positive attitude throughout an arduous but fulfilling outing. Everyone learned a lot and had a great time bonding and working together.